Hi guys, welcome to your first lecture online for your first flipped lesson. Today we are going to be looking at complex patterns of inheritance, and this should answer some of the questions you've been asking me about where does your eye color come from or your hair color. Some of these things are not as simple as what we've been learning about with males, pea plants being round or wrinkled or tall or short. Those are called simple, and they work for some traits. Dimples are an example of a Mendel trait. But things are more complicated, like eye color, and we're going to talk about kind of how that works. The first type of complex inheritance is incomplete dominance, and this means only displaying half of one allele. So here in the picture, see we have a white flower and a red flower, and when they're combined, you end up with a pink flower. So a homozygous red flowered plant, and here is the genotype of that plant right here, is crossed with a homozygous no pigment flowered plant. And there's the genotype for that one. And after the first generation offspring is going to have all pink flowers. That means they're only showing half of the red pigment. Codominance is an expression of both alleles. So in codominance, both alleles are expressed equally. On the left, you see you have a black chicken, and on the right, you have a white chicken. And when they mate, instead of having black or white or gray, they actually have black feathers and white feathers. An example of codominance in humans is sickle cell disease. This is when the red cells, the normal ones should look like this, these little disc-shaped ones right here. Sickle cell disease causes blood cells to look like this, like in the shape of a sickle. An individual who is homozygous for the sickle cell allele, the oxygen-carrying protein hemoglobin, differs by one amino acid from normal hemoglobin. So remember, this is just one little amino acid that changes the whole structure of the protein. Someone who has sickle cell is homozygous and is HB big S, HB big S. Individuals who are homozygous for the normal allele have this genotype, HBA, HBA. And individuals who are heterozygous produce both. About half of their blood cells are round and normal, and the other half are sickle cell. And this is an example of codominance, HBA, HBS genotype. Multiple alleles. This is when there's more than one allele that codes for a gene. So for example, for a trait, blood type is one where there's more than one allele. It's not just big T, little t, or big R, little r. Instead, you have a variation. So the ABO blood group is what we use when we talk about humans. And there are different genotypes. So there are actually 4 blood types. You can be type A, type B, you can be AB, or you can be O. If you have big IA genotype, or big IA, little I, you are type A blood. If you have big IB, or big IB, little I, you have type B blood. If you are big IA, big IB, you have A blood. And if your genotype is little I, the recessive trait, then you are type O. And blood type is really important because if you get the wrong type of blood in your body, it can actually cause your blood cells to clump together and it can kill you. And that's why they test your blood when you donate blood. And so donating blood is really important. The more they have of all the different types, the safer they can transfuse blood. Type O negative blood is considered the universal donor, and you're going to see why, but it can be donated to people of any blood type. And type AB positive blood is considered the universal recipient because people with this type can receive any blood type. And this is just a little ABO grouping by percentage of population. This is just, how common it is. So like I always tell my students, I have type B blood, and so 10% of the population has that same type. And if you know your blood type, you can find it on here. The most common is right here, it's O positive, and the least common is AB negative. So what these genes do is they code for molecules on the surface of the red blood cell. So different types of blood have different types of molecules. Blood type A has one type. Blood type B has another. If you look at blood type AB, it has both. Do you see? It's got the blue and the green. It's kind of an example of both. And blood type O has neither one. Okay, so if you have blood type A and somebody with blood type B is injected into your vein, your body will say, oh wait, that's not my kind of blood, and it will attack it, and it will cause it to clot. But if you have blood type AB, do you see how you have both? People with blood type B can donate to you, or A, because both would be recognized as okay. Blood type O doesn't have any molecules, so it can be given to any of these blood types because it doesn't have anything that would be recognized as foreign. Polygenic inheritance is inheritance that is controlled by more than two or more genes. And so this is, well, poly means many, genic means genes, and this means that you can have a lot of different phenotypes. So things like hair color, eye color, and height, those are all examples of inheritance. And that's how you can have people who have, just varying shades of skin color. There's not just one color for each different ethnic groups. There's a wide range of possibilities. Gender determination is another type of complex inheritance. In humans, we already know this, the diploid number of chromosomes is 46, or 23 pairs. And 22 of those are homologous chromosomes. They're called autosomes. And remember, those are the ones where, like for example, both of these code for the same things. They just have different alleles. But you come down here to this X and Y, and you notice that they don't look the same. They're not the same size. They don't have the same number of genes. And this is that 23rd pair that differs in males and females. These two chromosomes, which determine the gender of an individual, are called sex chromosomes, and they are indicated by the letters X and Y. Males have an X and a Y, and females have an X and X. And males usually have one X and one Y and produce two kinds of gametes, X and Y. I say usually because there can be problems, and we're going to talk about that next. Females usually have two X chromosomes and produce only X gametes. They can only give X's because that's all they have to give. So it's the male gamete that determines the sex of the offspring. Traits controlled by genes located on sex chromosomes are called sex-linked traits. The alleles for sex-linked traits are written as superscripts of the X or Y chromosomes. So you see right here you have X and X. These little C's, those are the actual alleles. And then because the X and Y chromosomes are not homologous, the Y chromosome has no corresponding allele to one on the X chromosome, and no superscript is used. So here you have a superscript next to the X, but here there's no superscript, and that's because you see how short this little Y one is? It doesn't have all these genes that the X has, so it's not going to have a corresponding gene. Many human traits are determined by genes that are carried on the sex chromosomes. Most of these genes are located on the X. If a son receives an X chromosome with a recessive allele, the recessive phenotype will be expressed because he does not inherit on the Y chromosome. So normally when you see this R, if you only have one, what we learned with Mendel is that then you wouldn't show a trait. But sex-linked chromosomes you will, because the Y doesn't have anything to correspond that. So it's all by itself. It's not going to be overshadowed by a dominant allele. A female, on the other hand, would have to have both in order to be, have that phenotype expressed. Two traits that are governed by X-linked recessive inheritance in humans are red-green color blindness and hemophilia. People who have red-green color blindness can't differentiate these two colors. So right now, if you see an 8, you might have red-green color blindness because what you should really be seeing is the number 48. Color blindness is caused by the inheritance of a recessive allele on either of two gene sites on X chromosome. Another X-linked disorder is hemophilia, and this is a disease that causes a problem with blood clotting. About one male in every 10,000 has hemophilia, but only about 1 in 100 million females inherits the same disorder. And that's a recessive gene on the X chromosome that causes that. Many abnormalities in the number of sex chromosomes are known to exist. So you see in this picture, there's only one X and there's no Y or another X to go with it. Any individual with at least one Y is a male, and without a Y is a female. Turner syndrome is the absence of one X chromosome. This occurs in about 1 out of every 2,500 live female births. And girls born with this don't have any mental disabilities, but they do have some physical characteristics. Right here, babies that are born with Turner syndrome tend to have swollen feet. And then if you look at this picture, looks like she doesn't have any arms, but she does. Right here where I'm pointing the cursor is an area of skin, and they call it like a webbing around the neck. And that can actually be removed with surgery, but that's an indicator of Turner syndrome. Most of these individuals lead normal lives, but they cannot have children, and some have varying degrees of mental retardation. Trisomy means having 3 X chromosomes. XXY is Klinefelter's, and having 2 Y chromosomes is Jacob's syndrome. So here are the section check questions that I normally give you at the end of the lecture, and I'm just going to kind of go through them so you can pause them and try to check yourself and your knowledge, and if you want to write the correct answers on the back of your notes, I'll give you some bonus points for that. So here's question 1, and here's the answer. Here's question 2, and here's question 3, and here's the answer. Okay guys, that's the end of this lecture, and I hope this works out and that you get a chance to fast forward. If you feel like you missed something, if you need some more, go back and watch it again.